Hare Krishna, Planet Earth. This is Koshalya coming to you from the Absolute Truth platform. Today we're going to have a special treat where we're going to be watching a DVD about the publishing company of Lord Srila Prabhupada, the savior of this planet for the next 10,000 years. Many of you have at least one of his books in your home somewhere, speaking about the ancient culture of great India, spiritual life. Over 60 to 100 million books since 1965 has been distributed here in America. And many Americans and Europeans all over the world have received one of his books. The Lord Srila Prabhupada spent many hours, sleeping only 2 to 3 hours a night, translating the great knowledge of the Vedas from Sanskrit to English and other languages. That was his great contribution to the human race, to help civilize us, to help spiritualize us. And this particular segment is talking about that process. It's kind of old. It was recorded in 1976. So of course now they're doing a lot more things and it's a lot easier to do the translations. But this is what they did in 1976. It gives you an idea of the sacrifice, the wonderful, most divine contribution Lord Srila Prabhupada has given to the human race on this particular planet. So once again, I want you to listen closely, pay close attention, and learn about the new savior of this planet, Lord Srila Prabhupada.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma.
5,000 years ago in India, many saints and sages gathered on the banks of the sacred river Ganges. They came from throughout the world to witness the last 7 days in the life of the great devotee, King Parikshit. The king had renounced his fabulous wealth to dedicate his few remaining days to spiritual enlightenment. At that meeting, Sukadeva Goswami, the most exalted sage in the assembly, narrated the pastimes and teachings of Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He discussed all aspects of knowledge, from the creation of the material universe to the culture of spiritual life, and held the king and sages in rapt attention. His teachings, known as the Bhagavad Purana, or Srimad Bhagavatam, were transcribed in the ancient Sanskrit language, and their glories are thus explained in the Bhagavad itself. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion and knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Through the ages, these teachings about Lord Sri Krishna were transmitted intact from spiritual master to disciple. Sripad Madhvacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis of Vrindavan, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and in the early 20th century, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who ordered his disciples to preach Krishna consciousness around the world. He especially desired to distribute Krishna-conscious literature in the Western countries. His disciple, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, took this order as his very life. In 1966, he founded the International Society for Krishna Consciousness for Worldwide Preaching. Then, for worldwide publishing, he established the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Srila Prabhupada himself is the author of all of the books. He has been acclaimed as the world's most distinguished scholar and teacher of Vedic philosophy and culture. While translating each Sanskrit verse, he refers to books of commentary by previous spiritual masters, and then gives a thorough explanation of the text.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives in this connection a description of the difference of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ordinary living being. So this is the difference of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ordinary living being. This has been described in the previous verse, Sadbang Puman Vida Gunang Sutadgam Naveda Sadbhagam Manantamire. The purport is that Supreme Lord is omnipotent, omniscient. He knows everything. But the living being does not know actually what is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ordinary living being.
Now we will follow one verse as it journeys from translation by Srila Prabhupada through the process of book publication to its distribution around the world.
This Bhagavata Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
Hare Krishna.
Navdeep Das, please report to graphic design. Navdeep Das. Damodar Prabhu, please pick up on line 40.
Srimad Bhagavatam, we require 100,000 copies. But in this reprint, we'd like 250,000.
Prabhu, this package just arrived by air freight from India.
Ah, John. This is the latest translation of Srimad Bhagavatam by our spiritual master. Prabhu, take this manuscript to the Sanskrit department and tell them it's first priority. And put a marker next to Srila Prabhupada's name.
Done.
From the production manager, the manuscript goes to the Sanskrit department.
Krishna Sudhamopagate Dharmagana Divisaha
Here we see that the ancient script has been rendered into Roman letters. The editor is adding diacritical marks as a guide to pronunciation.
This Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, comma, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to cap H his own abode, comma, accompanied by religion, comma, knowledge, comma, etc., period. Persons who have lost...
An English editor now checks the manuscript for proper punctuation, grammar, and spelling. He dictates the corrected text onto a tape.
Paragraph, Lord Sri Krishna has cap H his eternal Dhamma, comma, or abode, comma, where cap H he eternally enjoys cap H himself, with cap H his eternal associates and paraphernalia, period. His eternal abode...
His recording is then transcribed.
Of cap H is eternal, comma, whereas the material world is the manifestation.
In the composing room, devotees retype the text on computerized machines that transfer each typed letter into an electronic code. The codes are recorded on magnetic tape, and any language can be composed in this way. The tape, with its coded information, is now fed into an electronic computer. The coded impulses from the tape are stored in the computer's memory bank. Then the computer activates a photo typesetter. The typesetter converts the stored codes into light-sensitive impressions on photographic paper. When the paper is developed in a processor, the resulting image looks exactly as it will appear in the finished book. The typesetting machine can run off more than 2,000 characters per minute. At this rate, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, as Sukadeva Goswami first spoke it, could be reproduced in 24 hours. The layout man cuts the photographic paper to page size and mounts it on artboard. Next, the page is photographed on a reproduction camera. The retoucher removes any blemishes from the negative. Before the book is printed, blueprints are made of all the negatives, and the blueprints are carefully proofread. Meanwhile, during this entire operation, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust artists illustrate